Relax. You gotta just chill out, man.
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you for a Victory Tuesday night. It's just after 9 p.m. Where else would you rather be as a Steelers fan? And with me as always, except when he's not, hold on to it. We have been waiting 8 months and 1 day. We have been waiting 35 weeks. We have been waiting 245 days. We have been waiting 5,880 hours for this. Rich, how's it going tonight?
I would like everyone to please just take one moment and breathe in that sweet smell of victory.
Oh, that's how long we've waited to do it. Rich, Pittsburgh Steelers, 18-10 against Atlanta. I know you're Mr. Knee-Jerk Reaction article. What's your 2 days later reaction?
Let me just kind of... I'm going to take a small break, okay? Just
It's been a good weekend for you, wasn't
just
it?
because I'm just going to set this all up. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this song that I used to play back when I was in college. You remember the song I used to play, Life Sucks, Then You Die?
Absolutely. They would even play that on WDVE.
Yes, they would.
One of the things.
Yes,
Yep.
they would. Life sucks, then you die. Well, that kind of has been how things have been going for me at times the past few months. But let me tell you, I had a sweet 3-day window in here that just doesn't get much better.
And for those of you who watch the show, you probably know what else about called you Uncle Rich because of how I had to say it to my kids. What else went down with you?
So it all started. Let's see. Last Friday we were doing we do a welcome lunch for our students, sponsored by our Chamber of Commerce here. We hold it over at the Wisp Resort, right on Deep Creek Lake ski area, and we're over there. And before I get ready to go to that morning, I actually had gone into work and was doing a few things before heading over there. I just happened to pull up and look. I'd been looking for a few days about what the weather was here and was the wind going to cooperate with me on Friday so that I could go out and sit in a tree and hunt those furry little brown animals with the antlers on their heads. And it was looking bad all week. And I had actually that morning told Renee, yep, not going hunting this evening. And right before I headed over to that luncheon, I looked again, and the wind shift was coming early. It was like a Christmas present all wrapped up for me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go sit in the tree. And I sat in the tree, and you know exactly where I was,
Yep.
Dave. And I haven't even told this to Dave, so he doesn't even know. At 6:45 p.m., the area where I was hunting turned into a deer superhighway. I had never seen so many deer when I've been up there hunting. It was insanity. And the one deer I was looking for came in, about 7:15. Wouldn't give me a shot and decided to leave. But then he decided to go up and make a great big circle, come in, spook all the rest of the deer out, and come back in at 7:45. And
Now he's in your freezer, right?
not yet. He's not in my freezer yet. Right now he's at the in the butcher's freezer.
So that was good. Right around the time that was happening for you was right around the time when Jefferson Hartman and I were coming in second place in our 2-man scramble that we entered that finished off my golf league for the year. I was supposed to play with my son, who is in the league with me. He's 13. So we just go out and have a good time. But I forgot that he had a leadership training for a leadership program he's in, and he was away for the weekend. So I'd already registered him and paid for him, so I had to get someone to fill in. So I brought in the ringer, Jeff Hartman, came in second place, shot a 34, 1 under for 9 holes. And I said, I thought he probably did 30 shots and I did 4. I went back and recounted. I was close. I think he did 29 and I did 5. But I had a really nice birdie putt because I would putt to try to give him the line first. And then the one time I crushed a nice birdie putt before he even had tried to. So, we had some good stuff going on, but that was just the beginning of things because how did it finish out? Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers with that victory. Now, last Tuesday, you took my score. That's why I laughed when you said it because I had already written down my score.
When you laughed, I knew I'd taken it.
Which team I was going to go with. I had a feeling it was going to be, you had said 16-13 last week. I decided to tweak it just a little bit to not be the same to 17-13. I think someone else on the staff picks had the same score as me anyway, but I'd already announced that on the preview, 17-13. I thought the Steelers could win the game if it was low scoring, lean on their defense. Offense does just enough. I was off a little bit because I thought, the Falcons could have 3 scoring drives. That would be realistic. My goodness, they only had 2. I thought the Steelers, I didn't know how many scoring drives they would have. They had twice as many scoring drives as I predicted. That you would think that's a good thing. But the bad thing was they were all with the field goal variety. But honestly, to me, how did you feel about the Steelers offense right away whenever that game, at the time it was going and afterwards?
All right. I almost, on the post-game show was on and was going to comment to folks, but I was like, you know what? I just did my knee-jerk reaction article. I'm not going to inject anything else in here. Here was the difference, okay? Here was the difference in this game and the games I watched last year, okay? I never knew what play was coming.
Yeah.
That was the biggest difference. I never knew what play was coming.
No, I can't say never. On that 4th and 1 that they did not get, I knew that was a quarterback sneak. I just wish they would have taken their time with it. And I don't think the offensive line was ready. That was one of those things. If they'd have made the decision to go up by 8, I'd have been fine with it. I'd have been disappointed because I felt they could have got into the touchdown zone. But when they decided to go to it, I'm like, yes, do it. Yes, do it. And as soon as they don't get it, you're like, no, why didn't you kick? That was one of those. So because it really, I'm
sitting there saying, guys aren't ready. Guys aren't ready. It's like we were trying to go hurry up, but not everybody was on the same page.
Yes,
and that's never a good thing. The other thing that I think I said to Kyle when that happened was, where was the tush push?
Yeah. Did I hear Kyle
honestly?
Yes,
you did. Yes, he did.
I heard him chime in from across the room.
Yes,
that's funny. Yeah, where was the tush push? Yeah. Well, bottom line is maybe it was the timing thing, but the linebacker for Atlanta went right over the top and just came down and Fields' head just basically got driven down into the turf. So that was one of those things. They did a good defensive play when the Steelers weren't. I feel like they weren't ready. I don't think it was their best effort on that play, but I'm not going to focus on that play the whole time.
No.
My thing is, I think it's encouraging that the Pittsburgh Steelers move the football, but it just shows how much work they have still to do because they need to finish off drives. There are several things. You can make excuses for a number of things in this game. Like, I think Afton had said it earlier, if I could find it, said about the big black hole. There it was. Afton said, question, was the black hole in the middle of the field due to their secondary? That means when you look at the passing chart after the game, the Steelers Justin Fields did not throw in the middle of the field, not even behind the line of scrimmage, really. Didn't throw in the middle of the field. Was that due to their secondary? I could say you can make excuses or you could justify things. I think, yes. I think it's when you have potentially the best safety tandem in the NFL. They got to prove it still. You might want to avoid those guys. So I understand if that's what they were doing. Also, Justin Fields was not even, I mean, look at this. Here we are 1 week later. Did we really have any inkling that Justin Fields was going to be the quarterback for this game from the very first snap, or maybe I should say from the very first fumbled snap of the game?
At this point last week, no.
No, not even on
coming.
Wednesday. Not even on Wednesday. So, yeah, that did change things up. I thought that was a nice job. Could you chalk that up to maybe that's why they couldn't finish off drives? Maybe. But you know what? In the words of Mike Tomlin, I don't have that one queued up here. We do not seek comfort. We don't need to find the comfort to say, well, that's what happened. Bottom line is, yes, great job getting into scoring range. And my goodness, with Chris Boswell, especially the dome, you don't have to go all that far to get him in scoring range.
Is that guy money in the bank or what?
Well, honestly, my biggest thing with Boswell a lot of times was, would they even bother to try it? It seemed like starting last year is when they've had no fear of going for it, going for the field goal. Doesn't matter. Inside of your 60 you're in, we'll go for it. Okay, so that's when last year was the first. Because in the past, I'm like, come on, go for the long field goal, but they didn't. I mean, I even think back. What was it? Was it 2020 when they didn't? Maybe when it wasn't when Boswell was out. And they wouldn't go for like a 43-yarder, which was frustrating. But man, money in the bank, Boswell.
Here's the fun I have with this. Something a little different in looking at the kicking game. Don't you find it kind of funny that Boswell goes 6 for 6 on field goals, 3 of them over 50 yards, 2 over 40 yards, and yet that kicker for that awful purple team to your east and their kicker that everybody makes such a big deal out of missed his first kick of the year?
Yep.
That to me was just, a little bit of icing on the cake there.
Hey, and whether you like PFF scores or not, Boswell had the best field goal score by a lot. I mean, a lot.
It should have been.
Let's see if I can even. Here we go. He was 90.3. The next closest was the kicker from Dallas at 83.1.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yep. So it was that was just field goal extra point kicking. That's all.
Not just that, but did you notice something about Boz's 6 field goals?
What else was I supposed to notice about Boz's 6 field goals?
All 6 of them were right down the middle.
Nah, there was one.
Nah, it was slightly
that was closer to the right upright. That would
not by a lot, but it was closer.
It was one was closer, but I mean, my goodness, one that's fine. And I mean, and they weren't even like questionable if they were going to reach. Honestly, I think the 57-yarder that wasn't questionable. I don't know if it was this 56 or the 51-yarder wasn't as long. I don't think he got as much on that one as he did the first one. But man, that was some really, really good stuff. Was happy that his short field goal, that it was that short when he had a new holder.
Yes.
Oh, what a shame. Just, I mean, one of my scenarios this summer was can Cameron Johnson set the Steelers, yards per punt record? And he doesn't even get to finish his first game. That was just, yeah. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Outside of that was just no. Oh,
can we talk about that play for a second?
Sure, if you want to talk about that play.
All right. So was definitely a hold on Killebrew.
Mm-hmm.
I understood why the flag was thrown.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and look at it. At that point, and again, you're talking about a guy making a decision in probably a tenth of a second or less.
Yeah.
At that point with your Killebrew, do you think, I've probably already committed this foul?
Let's keep him
just
away from
commit
my guy.
it, protect my guy.
See, I didn't go back and look as much to see if he held, but I could tell you that the reason, you could that the valid point was made that he didn't that the player did not go into the punter on his own free will.
He held it, but it was one of those. What do you want to say? Holding and trying to make it look like you're not holding kind of plays.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's really, I'm like, man, at that point, if you got to do that, protect your guy.
Yeah.
But again, you're talking about things that are happening, that fast.
Yeah.
You never going to point the finger at Kilburn and say, "Oh, it's your fault." I'm just like, once once you got to that point, would have liked to have gone ahead and just said, "You know what? Protect my guy."
Yeah. Yeah, the officiating was not good in this game. Some people
was not.
like, "Oh, they have it out for the." No, the officiating was just bad all around. It just was. I mean,
do you know we weren't the only game that had that issue with not knowing if it was first down or fourth down?
I did not.
Did you see that? Yes, there was another game. What was the? Let's see. It was either because it was one of the late games, so it was either because I had two.
Game show for me, so yeah.
Because it would have been either the Dallas Cleveland or what was the other game that was on for me? Raiders Chargers. It would have been a Dallas Cleveland game. Same thing happened. Same thing.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I was up there. You go. Brent Howell came in Dallas game. Yep. Thought so. The more I thought about it, because I didn't watch a whole lot of the Raiders game. I was watching more Cleveland lose. The fact that you had the same exact thing happen in two games opening weekend like that was crazy.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our DraftKings break now. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we get that one out there for our sponsorship that we have here for the first 5 weeks of the season. So we're going to do that. We're going to look at a little bit of the news, break down this game a little bit more, talk about how it translates to going to Denver. Can what the Steelers did in Atlanta, what can they take and carry into Denver? Because we haven't even touched on a lot of this yet. So if you're with us here on YouTube, Facebook, X, we're not going anywhere. If you're with us here on the audio side, stick around. We'll be right back after this message.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, just a hurry. Relax, don't worry, don't worry. Relax, don't worry, no rush, just a hurry. Relax, don't worry, don't worry. Relax.
All right, Rich, here we go. We have some news with the Steelers. We have a few roster changes that have happened since the game. Obviously, the Steelers needed another punter. And are you surprised that they did?
Really? Did they really? Because honestly, I thought Boz had a pretty good punt when he.
No. Well, it was a bit of a line drive, as they said. I tell you what,
43 yards, no return.
He got the distance, and you know what? It seemed like I've got to give credit to Scotty Miller and Ben Skronik, if I say his last name right, the two gunners on that one.
Yeah,
they were like, you know what? We got to go do this again. We've got to come through for Boz the way he's been coming through for the rest of the team with those field goals. We've got to get free and get down there. And they had great coverage on it. It wasn't as much hang time as they got with Johnston, but he did. But no, they need to have another punter. They need to have another holder. Although, hey, Scotty Miller did fill in with that. The Mike Tomlin's story on that today was funny. Was because I don't know if you heard that at the very end of the press conference where they said, "Hey, how'd Scotty Miller end up being the emergency guy?" He's like, "Well, on Thursday I said, anybody here ever hold in high school or anything like that?" And Scotty Miller's like, "I did." It's like, "Good, you're the emergency guy. Let's go try a couple." that's what happened, and then he had to go out and do it on Sunday. So, and
he did an admirable job on what I would say was not a perfect snap. Snap came a little high. He handled it and got it down, and that's all that mattered.
but it was nice that it was a shorter field goal, so you don't have the stress of that. So that was really good. But the Steelers added a familiar face at punter. Probably not the familiar face Steelers fans thought it might be, but it was the one that a lot of them, I think, wanted it to be, including myself. Orlis Waitman, who's punted 2 games for the Steelers back when Presley Harvin missed 2 games when wasn't it like his father and his grandmother both died in like the same week? I might have the wrong family members. It was 2 family members. I know that. So, and Waitman punted great, but the Steelers let him go after that. He was with the Steelers the entire season the year before on the practice squad, because during COVID you wanted to carry an extra punter. He was that guy. So he's the guy going to come in, see what they can do. Hopefully, to me that's a little bit refreshing, because I feel like, what if the Steelers would have kept him? So and he goes to a familiar place in Denver where he punted all of 2022. The other move the Steelers made was they brought back Terrell Edmunds. Now, what's interesting about that is people are like, oh, well, they did it now. Terrell Edmunds played last week. Yes, he was on the Jaguars practice squad. He was elevated. He played in the game. It was like 6 defensive snaps. He played for Jacksonville last week, but they couldn't protect him again until Tuesday. All those guys that revert back to the practice squad, they are free to be claimed until Tuesday. The team can protect up to 4 players. That used to be bigger news. Now it's not as much. So the Steelers grabbed him, signed him. They're like, well, who they losing? Well, remember, they put Logan Lee on IR before the game when they announced that Saturday, but they didn't add someone else to the roster, so they only had 52. So they signed Waitman, and when they brought in Edmonds, that's when they officially put Cam Johnston on IR. That's the 53. They don't have to release anybody at this time. So, Rich, anything move the needle with you for either of those signings?
Waitman was a name I was not surprised to see. I didn't know what the Steelers actually would do with the punter, but his was a name I was not surprised to see, and actually was like, okay, cool, let's see how this goes. I don't know. The Edmonds one might probably surprised me a little more. I was just like, what?
I thought they would have done it like when he was first cut there at when they went down to 53. I thought that might have been the time, but at the time they might have not known that Logan Lee was going to go on IR.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, they were maybe still waiting to make that decision.
Yeah.
Which then really just turns around with him on IR and makes a little sense on how the initial 53 went, kind of with the extra defensive lineman. Now he's on IR. Now it's not the extra defensive lineman. Now it's an extra safety.
Yeah, and now here's something Coach Tomlin said today when he was asked about Terrell Edmonds. He's like, it's a guy that knows us and a guy that we know, blah, blah, blah. But he said it might not be a significant need now, but it might be a different scenario a few weeks from now. And that's really the same spirit that we did business with Cam Sutton. So it's a whole idea of we know him. It's from we might not have a need for him right now, but you never know what's going to happen down the road. Now was a time they had a roster spot, so they did it. Yeah. So I have no problem with it.
Yeah, especially when you had the flexibility of the roster spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's can't think if I don't know that there's any other news wise for the Steelers other than, of course, the big stuff with Coach Tomlin's press conference today. I kind of even had to tweet it. Man, oh man, the national media, they just can't get things right a lot of the times. So, because I even had to put this out there because after Coach Tomlin was asked about Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, all that stuff, what's going forward this week, and Coach Tomlin's like, he was pretty candid about it. He's like, Russ isn't on schedule to even have a full practice on Wednesday. So we're going to prepare as if it's Justin Fields. He's the one who's here. He's the one who's available fully. So we need to prepare him to be the starter. Then we get Ian Rappaport saying the Steelers are planning to start quarterback Justin Fields. That's not what Coach Tomlin said.
No, it's not what
They are
Coach
not
Tomlin-
synonyms. Preparing and planning are not synonyms. I even looked it up. Just Google, are planning and preparing the same thing? You'll be surprised what you get for the results. No, they are not. Okay? Because you can prepare for something without planning for it. Okay? Not only that, you could prepare 4 quarterbacks to start, but you can only plan on one of them. You know, it's getting him ready to. You could prepare somebody for something, but have it still not be your plan. I don't think that's the case here. I think the Steelers are the only way they've got to prepare with Justin Fields, who's there ready to prepare. And the only way I think it's going to be Russell Wilson this week is if he just kind of blows things out of the water Wednesday with stuff, and he can come right back and be full strength Thursday.
Yep.
Outside of that, I just don't know. I know Russ would like to go back and beat up on the Broncos, but you got to worry more about.
What would he like to? Now wait a minute. What would he like to do? I know it's not the right time of year, but what would he like to do?
Live in his fears? What?
No, he would like to deck the Broncos. They're just Broncos.
They're just,
Ga-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga.
yeah. So, that's a
Yoy.
classic one. Yes, double yoy,
Double yoy.
triple yoy. Yeah. So there was that was the kind of news we kind of talked about the Steelers' offense and some of the things that I brought up with the offense because we've really got to give the credit where the credit's due as soon as we can get there. But they did have 2 3-and-outs, but they weren't your typical 3-and-outs. They were both on drives that I think things really went haywire on them. You know, it wasn't just we're going to try to run it up the middle and only get 2 yards. Then we'll run up the middle and only get 1 yard. So then we're sitting here 3rd and 7, and we'll try to throw a pass behind the line of scrimmage that gets tackled for no gain. It wasn't that. It was I think, you know, a sack or something else kind of set it off.
Yeah, there was on the one. I definitely knew they were behind the sticks. I'm trying to remember the other one. Stall, so I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, well, then no, I was going to ask you to do the same thing because I have it here in front of me. Because they're 2 3-and-outs. The one was to start the second half. They lost 9 yards.
Yeah.
Okay. Their other one was their next to last possession after the whole they had wasn't it a decent return and then got a penalty called back on them. Then they had another play. Bottom line is the 2 3-and-outs, their net yards were -9 and -21.
Yep. Got behind the sticks.
Yeah.
Once you, and especially early on, first game of the year, I knew the Steelers weren't going to be built to play from behind the sticks. You know, anything greater than 3rd and 7 was going to be asking a lot.
Oh, and the one that I said was minus, that was because of the penalty on the punt. They had to punt again. So that was the one where they tried to, that last one, they tried to run that toss to Najee for -3 yards. Then an incomplete pass and then a sack. The other one to start the half was, I'm trying to remember exactly what that was. Let's see. Here we go. Wait, that's to start the game.
Yeah,
Man,
you're on the wrong one.
I skipped way ahead.
So that one got to 3rd and 4, and it was another sack. It was a 3rd and 4, and I thought, oh, okay, they've got it there and manageable, and Fields took a sack for -15 yards.
Yes. So basically, the 2 times that they were sacked, because they were sacked twice or 3 times. It might have been 3 times.
I think it was just twice.
I think you're right. The Steelers, anyway. That it was 3-and-out. So
Yeah, the Steelers, Fields was sacked twice for -23.
Yeah, and both of those led to 3-and-outs.
Yep.
So, yeah, but otherwise, the offense was at least getting some first downs, getting yards, things of that nature.
Although I'm trying to figure out how 21 plus 9 is 23, but that's just me.
What do you mean?
Because in the when I'm looking to the actual plays where he was sacked, oh no, that's right. It was minus 15. It was 4th and 21. My bad.
Gotcha.
My
Okay.
bad. I just can't read.
You can't read. That's what it was. So, Rich, let's turn the focus to where it should be. Exactly how I thought the Pittsburgh Steelers could win this game. You've got to have your defense go out there and set the tone, make a statement, and your offense play enough complementary football to get the job done.
Yes.
How did you feel about this Pittsburgh Steelers defense?
Oh my gosh! In the second half, they were beasts.
Yeah.
They were beasts in the second half.
Yeah.
You want to talk about both sides of the football. Honestly, both sides of the football made really nice halftime adjustments.
Yeah.
The defense came out in the second half and just had Atlanta figured out and just held them basically to nothing. And offensively, did you notice? Because I felt the team looked a lot different offensively in the second half compared to the first half.
Now, that's also when they had their 2 3 and outs, but I do as well. It seemed like I felt like they were trying to ease Justin Fields into things because he hadn't prepared all week.
Yeah. And honestly, it was almost like they were okay, but better in the first half after they came off the script.
Yeah. Well, and I think it gave them, Mike Tomlin said this today, gave them a lot of confidence being able to move the ball in 32 seconds and get a field goal.
Oh, tell me about it.
That was really big.
That was refreshing to see.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if that would have been any of the quarterbacks from last year under center, we'd have probably taken the knee and gone to the locker room.
Yeah. Jeff talked about that in the post-game show. But look at what Atlanta's offense did in the second half, okay? They had 3 first downs, one of which was from a penalty, okay? They had no third down conversions, 0 for 5. They did have a 4th down conversion. But you're like, 4th down conversions, oh, that's good. Yeah, but that means you got the 4th down. You didn't get it done in the first 3 downs. All right? They had 51 net yards of offense, which came out as 50 rushing yards and 1 net passing yard in the second half, because they only threw for 19 yards and had minus 18 yards in sacks. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No. It's not crazy. It's dominant.
Yeah. The takeaways were great. But honestly, if the Steelers didn't have the takeaway, didn't have the takeaways, I still think they did all right. Now, the one takeaway, they were in field goal range, the one that the TJ got. But they also had another takeaway that they took away from a takeaway that was taken away when it came to TJ Watt. So,
what did you think of the fact that apparently the official told TJ at the half that after looking at it, they messed it up?
yeah. I mean, at least he owned up to it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because
But you're
you
like,
know what?
you do realize that cost us 7 points. It was the very next play they scored the touchdown. And like I said,
I know.
I feel bad for Beanie Bishop. He was the only guy defending the pass on that side of the field. And he had Bijan Robinson right around just behind the line of scrimmage and Kyle Pitts in the end zone. And he was kind of like stuck in the middle of how you trying to cover 2 guys that are basically 15 yards apart or more, you know, trying to cover them both. So that was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, my goodness, I mean, the new guys balling out. I went back, I watched the condensed version of the game Monday morning.
Soup
all
version.
22 wasn't out. Huh?
The soup version.
Yeah. Bottom line is they cut out everything in between plays. You can watch the whole thing in just over in under 40 minutes. You can watch the whole game. So that was I watched that, but I was mainly focused on the offense. And you know what I did for the offense? I watched Dan Moore Jr. on every snap. He played very well, especially more in pass blocking even than run blocking. He played very well. He graded out well. He did a nice job. I thought James Daniels, he gave up that one sack and that wasn't good. But other than that, he actually played really well outside of that play. And he ended up being graded out slightly higher than Dan Moore. But I was happy with that. But when I went back and looked at the condensed version, I only noticed one of the two catches by London. And it was a nice throw and a nice catch with Joey Porter Jr. draped all over him. Brought him down immediately. And I'm like, that was kind of ballsy to throw that pass. And they're lucky they completed it because that coverage was great. And he only had one other catch in the game. And I don't even remember. I didn't notice that one. Joey Porter Jr. did a real nice job in coverage. And you know what? Yes. When that happens, he's not going to grade out or get these great grades because of it. But he's doing a great job.
Must agree.
Yeah.
Really noticed JPJ had a great game. I want to say who all was I looking at? Who was eerily quiet was, and I know a lot of folks were talking about it, was Patrick Queen.
Yeah, and he had a really bad PFF grade as well, but
see, here's the thing. Patrick Queen wasn't making a lot of splash, but he wasn't getting gashed either.
Yeah, like PFF
you know what I mean?
Had him with 4 missed tackles. But even when some of those times, even when you have a missed tackle, sometimes with missed tackles, there's different levels. If you miss a tackle and the guy runs for another 5 to 50 yards, that's a bad missed tackle. If you're the first person there and you don't bring him down, but then the next guy's there to clean him up after only like maybe another yard, that's not the end of the world. But Patrick Queen was directing things pretty well.
I only noticed one, and it was actually the one missed tackle that he had. It was his chance to make a splash play. He missed one. He missed the running back in the backfield. But part of that one, I don't want to make an excuse for it, but based on where he was coming from, where the runner was going, he did not have the greatest of angles to try to make this tackle. Yeah. But that was one that I was just like, oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, and Afton Ford says, doesn't Queen's splash decrease when he wears the dot? Did we not expect this? Well, if you're a good player, you can do both. But I'm just saying, he might not have had the splash. He might not have had the where he was standing out visually, but the wearing of the dot did. Seeing him communicate and what he was doing on the field, not necessarily being the one making the play, actually did stand out. So that's an important aspect that's not going to show up in the stat book.
Can I ask you another one? Because, see, I think Patrick Queen has a little bit to do with this as well. Other than what we have decided was a blown coverage touchdown catch, did we hear much of the name Kyle Pitts?
No,
we did not.
Kyle Pitts. Yeah.
That typically means our inside linebackers and safeties were doing a good job.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, I mean, hold on. I was looking at the second half stats. He only had one catch in the second half. Kyle Pitts was targeted 3 times for 3 receptions, 26 yards. And one of it was the 12-yard touchdown.
Right.
That was kind of a broken play and everything else. Let's just say this. Some people were disappointed, like, oh, it's the same old Steelers. Some people are like, oh, the offense looked the same. I listened, to Mark Madden on Breakfast with Ben's on Monday, which is part of the Fans First Sports Network, saying about, wasn't this offense just the same as it was last year? Then you're not paying attention. You're just looking at it very much on the surface. You're looking at the numbers and not actually paying attention to what's going on in the game, because you said it best. The other team wasn't over there shouting out where the play is going to go. I just had a different feeling every time the Steelers had the ball. Every time they came to the line, it wasn't like, all right, here they're getting ready to do this. No.
You know what my favorite play offensively of the game was? Was the Fields rollout left and the route and the throwback right to George Pickens.
Yeah.
That play, Matt Canada doesn't run a play like that. No way.
No.
Every time the past few years when the Steelers rolled out, all that did was shrink the field. And that was not how it went with Arthur Smith.
Mm-hmm.
There were actually some times I kept saying to Kyle, I was like, I'd roll out here and give Fields the option to run. I'd roll out here and give Fields the option to run.
Yeah.
Nice to have that option.
I know. That was a whole different dynamic to the game, which think about this. Would you have had Russell Wilson doing that?
Doing
Doing
what,
the runs
the
that
run?
Justin Fields had.
No. Russ would have run some because even though he's 35 years old, he's still got some legs to him.
Especially
and
with the
that.
cap.
But
But to me, that tells me something that we didn't get from the last coordinator, and maybe even the one before, is wow, you're now starting a different quarterback, actually adjusting and doing something a little bit different based on that player.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sherry Richards put up, I actually have confidence in this offense scheme now just based on that one play. And that was kind of me. That one play was different, so different from the types of plays we've seen the Steelers run. I won't even say the past 3 years. How many years did we have Randy Fichtner in there? Add that to it too. So it's been a solid 6 years or more. That play was more of a, honestly, I'll say that was more of a Bruce Arians play.
Yeah.
That's a play you saw Bruce Arians run with a young Ben Roethlisberger.
Especially because it takes a lot of time to develop, and he wasn't afraid to do that.
Time to develop.
Yeah.
You gotta have a big arm,
Yeah.
and you gotta have a quarterback that is relatively mobile, and that was a young Ben Roethlisberger was relatively mobile. That play, like I said, that play, when I got to look at it more and more, Bruce Arians came to mind, and actually just sitting here talking to you tells me why. Arthur Smith used Justin Fields in the same way Bruce Arians was using that young Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah. All right. Well, here, let's sum up this past week's game here real quick before we then take another late break. But just a few things to kind of put a bow on stuff. Okay. Good job, Justin Fields, taking care of the football.
Yep.
Okay. I said before, I think Fields has a really high ceiling, but he also has a low floor because how he can turn the ball over. So that's what scared me with him the most. I'm like, what if you get to Justin Fields? It's gonna, make a improper throw, put the ball on the ground, blah blah blah. And of course, that very first play didn't do a lot for you. But my goodness, even turned that into a 3-yard gain.
Even that was 3 yards.
Yeah. So good job there with the Steelers having no turnovers.
Yeah.
That was great. But my goodness, the defense, this is where I'm going to give where Mark Madden said this to Tim Benz was good. This was an elite defense. This wasn't just a defense with elite players. It was elite all around.
Yeah. It was an elite unit.
Yes, it was an elite unit. Let's see if they can keep that up.
Yep.
It's going to be the big question. Do you have anything else, anything you want to say to kind of wrap up this past game before we take a break and turn to next week?
Yeah, could I just one more time breathe in that sweet smell? Because, it's nice to open the year that way. Oh, and you do it, too, because, we're all alone on top of the AFC North.
Absolutely. Breathe in that sweet smell of first place in the AFC North.
We're in first
One
place.
game up with everybody.
We're in first place in the AFC North, and every other team is under 500 in the AFC North.
There you go. Gotta love it. Hey, stick around. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax. Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax.
Rich, relax. Don't worry. Don't worry. Relax. No, we don't want to relax too much. We don't want to, we don't want to seek comfort because there's something that the Steelers have to now do looking ahead at Denver. I had to steal one of these from Pittsburgh Standard Time that I do with Greg Banavent, but we have to do
be
this.
continually pressing to get better.
That's what the Steelers have to be doing now. So let's keep pressing to get better. Can the Steelers' success in Atlanta translate to Denver? Okay. I'm still going to argue. I know some people are like, oh, it's an offensive league. You got to score points. You got to do everything else. I keep turning back to last year's Super Bowl champion who won it not in the way they had won it the year before. Yep. They won it with defense and knowing that you had the best quarterback in the league that could come through for you and do just enough with not the greatest supporting cast in order to complement a defense that was going out there and being dominant. Okay. Now, the Steelers don't have the best quarterback in the NFL because only one team can have that. But they can have that dominant defense and a complementary offense to do what needs to be done to get the job done. How do you feel about things going into Denver?
Actually, I feel a lot better than I thought I might. I was like, going into week 1, you're just, not that you're looking ahead to week 2, but you're like, sorry, last week when our show was done, it's like, man, am I going to be able to be this optimistic next week?
Yes.
Yes, I'm feeling much better about the Steelers this week because of the things I saw in their performance last week. Again, it had its, to quote Brian Anthony Davis, it had its pimples. We won't say warts. We'll say pimples.
They can be cleared up.
That's
Get
right.
yourself some Noxema, some
Clearasil. Yep, some Clearasil, whatever. We'll just clear that up. There were not a lot of, I want to say, glaring major things that so Brian in some ways really had it right. It was, there were pimply things. There was a lot of things. Hey, we can clean this up. We can fix these things. These are not going to be, saw some issues that you're like, what? There's no way you're looking at those. Those are going to be long-term issues.
Yeah.
You could have it a week here, a week there, or you could have it a couple weeks in a row, but they're not debilitating things for the team. So look forward to that. And then of course, just can the defense continue to just be dominant like they were?
Yeah. My thing is a dominant defense. The tricky thing with that is you could be a dominant defense for 40 plays and then one play have something break down and you give up 7 points. That's the thing with dominating defenses.
You can,
which is tough.
I mean, it happened last week.
Yeah,
it happened last week.
So, but I mean, also,
it did not cost the Steelers the game.
But I mean, the defense seemed like they cleaned up the pimples at halftime. Now the offense, I still thought they were better, but they still got more work to do.
What are you talking
Here's
about?
what's exciting.
Okay. Wait a minute. We've gone that route.
I've been waiting to say this for a while. I'm going to say this.
No, don't say it.
Wrong. This is how it's going to be. What I want to see is that the Steelers have the offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith that will actually put forth a game plan to go against your opponent's weaknesses. Are you going to have a different game plan, just enough next week based on your opponent? Because it seemed like with the Steelers in the last 3 years, they were just marching up the same thing of we do what we do, and hopefully this week it works.
Yeah. Now, what I was going to say is, since we were into Brian's analogy and you were talking about the defense being cleared up at halftime, yes, the defense came out for the second half of that game with a perfect complexion.
Yeah.
The offense came out, and you could tell that they'd been treated.
Yeah.
But they still had a little bit of acne going on.
Yeah,
there,
they still have more to do. So, so now, am I Am I confident that the Steelers can get the job done? Yeah. Am I cocky saying, oh man, this game, we don't have Biggie Bronco in there tonight, who likes to join a lot of our shows with everything with Denver? He's probably not, because coming around, Denver's not feeling. But look, Denver's defense is no joke. What's the last time a defense had 2 safeties in a game? The score was 10 points, and it was from 2 field goals and 2 safeties at one point. It was crazy.
Yeah, but I will say this. Geno Smith is not Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And we give up a 34-yard touchdown. They gave up a 34-yard touchdown run to Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm just saying that right now, Denver's got to be like, hey, young quarterback, we might have to take our licks a little bit earlier here in the season, but hopefully not get too far out of things to see what we can do as it goes. But this is going to be a tough task for a young quarterback going up against this defense.
Well, here's the other thing, okay? If this defense gets another couple games like this last game under their belt, look out.
Yes.
Because really, when you stop and think about it, there are still some really younger, a lot younger guys in spots on this defense. And if all we're going to do is give those guys more and more confidence, look out.
Yeah. Well, and I keep saying, TJ Watt isn't just a game changer. He's a game plan changer. You have to plan around him. You have to have a scheme where you are doing that. But now look at all the guys that they're having to plan around. You've got TJ Watt. Okay. Oh, we don't want to throw it to Joey Porter Jr. He's all over the guy. Oh, we got to be careful. Minka Fitzpatrick. We don't want to just put the ball up in the air close to him. Although that one where TJ hit Cousins and it just floated for forever, you could just see that Minka, he was just a fraction late of just coming up. And that was his wheelhouse right there.
I know.
He was just a little bit too deep, because wasn't that the one that on the touchdown drive? So they were probably playing a little bit deeper because how much time was left in the half. And I'm like, if he's playing a little bit more normal, I think that's an interception from Minka, which would have been right there. So those are guys you have to plan around. Do you really want to are you just going to say, oh, well, he might not have had the best game in his debut? Do you really want to not worry about Patrick Queen? Do
you really want to play one-on-one against Cameron Hayward?
Cam Hayward showed why the Steelers needed to sign him to that extension. So many people were writing it off. Oh, he's got nothing left. He's over the hill, blah, blah. One game, and you should see that is different.
He was demanding double teams.
Yes.
He was demanding them.
The run stopper guy. Just imagine, how things are. You've got so many places now. You've got Alex Heisman on the other side. My goodness, you're going to rotate in Herbig, who is just fine. All these different things that you're like, all right, maybe Denver can try to plan. If you're looking right now, a weak spot on the Steelers defense, maybe Beanie Bishop, because he's an undrafted rookie free agent that's a little bit unproven and everything. Maybe. The new guys for the Steelers both had interceptions. My goodness. It's just across the board. It's just you have to still focus on TJ Watt because he's the best player in the NFL. Well, okay. Best defensive player in the NFL. That's not arguable. The best player is it's hard to judge that when you're playing on the opposite side of the ball. That's a whole debate that we get into another day. You have to do that with him, but you can't just ignore everything else now. There's so much. So just got to keep it rolling.
Yep. I'm ready to roll.
You ready to roll?
Scores.
I'm ready to roll too. Let's get these scores going. So as you all know, although the live chat hasn't had a whole bunch to say tonight, believe it or not, but hopefully you have a whole bunch to say when we're going to get to your scores. Because what we do here, each week we have a big question during the regular season. It's, your score prediction. But you've got to wait for me to say it's time and put it out there in the live chat for you to do it. We'll bring them up and read them all. But first, Rich, what's your score prediction for Sunday? Unfortunately, it's afternoon. It's 4:25, so it's a little bit off of when the Steelers are playing in Denver.
It's tough. That part's tough, but we'll get over it. I'm going to go Pittsburgh Steelers 20, the Denver Broncos 11.
11.
Yeah, do you want to know how I get my 11?
How many safeties are going to have?
Nope. Late touchdown and go for 2.
Late touchdown, go for 2.
Yeah, second half touchdown, go for 2 to make it 17,
one of those things where the Steelers are trying to kill the clock.
To make it 17-11, and then the Steelers end up with another Boswell field goal at the end to make it 20-11.
No, or it's 20 and they need to get to 13 to get within that touchdown for an onside kick because the Steelers are just waiting for it to go, and then they don't get the. Actually, no, you would, if you still needed that touchdown, you'd probably kick the extra point and wait to go to 2 on the second one. So I don't know. Yeah, so my scenario wasn't as good as yours.
Yeah, I had mine all figured out.
Yep,
Put it up there. Let's get to it.
I was trying to do it on the fly to figure it out. But yeah, I can see that. Once again, if the defense keeps it a low-scoring game, advantage Steelers. For those of you that are wondering about my score, I will give it Thursday night on the Steelers preview. We've got them coming in now. Oh, I thought
I also did that to make sure I wasn't going to take your score.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't come up with one already because I had forever to think about Atlanta. This one I still got to figure it out. Thomas Bradley has Steelers 34, Broncos 17. Okay, David Poe has 23-13 Steelers. Remember, if you don't put a team, we assume it's Steelers. Well, I missed one. Kevin Brokenborough has 32-6 Steelers. Gavin Anthony has Steelers 26-13. Pittsburgh has 20-13 Steelers. Kristen Schwartz, may the Schwartz be with you. I'm sure you've never heard that before. Steelers 45, Broncos 6. What would surprise you more, Rich? Steelers 45 or Broncos 6?
Steelers 45.
Yeah, same here. John Walter has 20-13 Steelers. Outside Steeler fan has good guys 20, Broncos 7. He's like, get the first couple of TDs of the season. I got to say something about that. I of course, had some fun wagers for the Steelers in this game and for the season. Like I need, let's see, Pat Freiermuth to score 5 touchdowns this year. I took the over on that. Did another one for him doing 7. So I'm like, if he gets the 5, that pays for both bets. If he goes all the way to 7, it's a really big one. One of the things I did, I lost this week. I'm like, I'll take that at plus 200. The Steelers scoring 1 touchdown in every game. Didn't even make it through the first
game. Didn't even make it through the first game. Kind of like me and the Pick'em.
Yeah, same here. I picked the Bengals.
So did I.
My philosophy behind that was if the Bengals lose, I'm going to be happy. So
that's right.
Yep. A lot of people picked the Bengals. Most popular pick. Articles at steelcurtnetwork.com of how it is with the contest. 150 people, and we lost, I don't know, we're down to like 57% of the people. So just after 1 week. So let's roll on with these. Tyler W. 1914, we get a TD. Thomas Eads is 24-3 Steelers. Afton Forrest says 18-13 Steelers. Kathy Ford says 24-16. That would be Steelers. Urban Wedge says Steelers 23-10. Sherry Richards 27-13 Steelers. John Malesko says 27-17. Denver getting a TD and field goal late in the 4th. That's 27-17. I had to read the whole thing to make sure it was Steelers because the next word after that was Denver. Rob Fitoff says a 9-2 Steelers.
Now, the only question I have for Rob is that 3 field goals or is that a touchdown a PAT, and a safety?
Or is that a touchdown, a failed 2-point conversion, and a field goal?
There you go.
Yeah. There's a lot of those you get there. I will tell you this. The lower the score, the better it is for the Steelers. I said that before.
Yes, Gavin Anthony, they are the same thing.
Yes, with the Pick'em versus the Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rob says that it is 3 field goals.
Okay.
once again, just like I thought it would last week, it really comes down to the Steelers taking the football away more than they turn it over. It'd be great if they don't turn it over at all. Then you don't have to worry about the takeaways. But Rich, the last time the Steelers had a negative turnover differential and won a football game was in 2020. 2020.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah. When they played the
it's like
Titans.
it's like
Remember
we've
they
been-
had to reschedule that game?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
That's how long
remember.
ago it was.
I remember the Titans.
So it's 20 some it's 20 some games. There was a tie in there against Detroit. But if they lose the turnover, I'll get to it. If they lose the turnover battle, if they lose the turnover battle, they don't win. So that's the thing. It's not that they can't turn it over, that they just have to have more takeaways than turnovers. That's going to be, once again, I think that's going to be a key stat for the Steelers all year. Okay, we've got Verge says that it's 20-16 Steelers. Ruben Stone says 27-9 Steelers. And it's funny, John Walter says, and a TJ Watt offsides.
And a TJ Watt offsides.
Yeah. So, Rich.
You don't see
Ooh, this
TJ
is a
Watt
lot of
get
fun.
mad very often, but he was pretty
Yeah.
mad over that.
Yeah, it was. And it's funny because people are saying, oh, even Jeff seen this, no shot down the line. That's right. They didn't show a shot down the line.
Oh, by
I
the
wonder
way,
if they
did you?
didn't have one?
There was one that was pretty close that I caught on. I don't know if it was Twitter or it might have been Instagram somewhere. I caught one that was not perfectly down the line, but was really, really close down the line, and he was not offsides. He stood up, but he did not cross the line before the ball.
It's not about you can move.
Yes,
You just can't cross.
He was
you can't go
not
into the neutral zone.
He was not in the neutral zone when the ball moved.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the referee apologized.
Yeah.
The officials apologized on that one to him, saying, you know what? It was really, and again, it's hard to fault the officials there because, again, you're talking about something that it was probably really just fraction of a second. So
And you've got to be careful when you also see some of these things on social media. Like there was a lot of stuff about the illegal formation stuff from Thursday night. People
some of those
drawing
were
lines.
terrible.
I'm like, my goodness, look at that line. That line does not run parallel to either the line of scrimmage or the line to gain, where it's in between there. Come on. It's not parallel to any of those lines. Your line is off. That's one. Two, people don't understand the rule. It doesn't matter where your foot is. It matters where your head is.
Yep.
With those. And that was the problem. Honestly, I think that was kind of the trick that the Kansas City tackle was doing. He was leaning his head forward. He was
Correct.
keeping his feet back.
His feet were
and
back,
leaning his head
but
forward.
leaning his head forward. I
But
noticed
the
that
Ravens
as well.
guy wasn't doing that. He was standing more upright.
Yep.
If you look at their stances, that was really the difference. They were set up in similar spots. But their stances and where you had your head was where it all comes down to. Glad that wasn't an issue for the Steelers, although penalties were as a whole. I hope to see that get cleaned up a little bit. Make sure you're checking out Steel Curtain Network for all your needs. Check out steelcurtainnetwork.com for everything. Like I said, the results of the survivor pools there through 1 week. We got plenty of other content going on there. Great stuff. Great breakdown from KT Smith today. Today's Tuesday. Make sure you check out all our podcasts. We'll be continuing to bring them. Rich, what do you have to say here to close us out tonight?
Oh, it was a great first weekend for Steeler fans in the NFL, hoping weekend number 2 can work out to be the same. It was a great first weekend for me. So for weekend number 2, there is no need for any deer hunting as that's in the bag
Check.
now. So
Literally in the bag.
my Saturday is going to be made up of lots and lots of baseball. As Kyle and our nephew Warren have 3 different scrimmages but there's a 6-team showcase going on out here. So that will be fun. And then I think my Sunday, since the Steelers don't play until 4:25, I'm thinking about getting up early in the morning and splashing the boat in and getting a little fishing in.
Sounds like a good weekend. Topped off with.
topped off by coming home, lounging out, and letting my knee jerks come out while I sit and scream at the television, as TJ Watt gets a sack and another sack and a strip fumble, and there you go. And does it get much better right now than that? No. Hey, you know what? I got one last thing, and then I'll get us out of here. Wouldn't you love to see the Steelers go to 2-0 and see the rest of the AFC North lay another egg this weekend? Just how great would that be? Can't wait.
Relax.